Well, hello, Scramblers and Climbers. Here we are again. Do you remember back in the summer we talked about how God makes things grow? And I showed you how to plant a little slice of tomato in a yogurt pot. And then a couple of weeks later, I showed you how to grown into some little seedlings. And then I planted them out into my garden in a big pot. And they grew and grew. And now there are a whole load of little tomatoes on the plant. They haven't gone red yet, but that's because I didn't plant them early enough in the season. But I'm still really pleased with them. It's been very exciting to watch them grow. We do live in an amazing world that God has made. And for the next few weeks, we're going to find out about some even more amazing things that Jesus did when he was with his disciples. But before we get on to that, what's the first thing we do every week? We say the Scramblers prayer. So, I know you know this. Let's do it together. When I touch my head, I think of you, Father God. When I put my hand over my heart, I say that I love you. When I put my hands together, I ask you to come and make everything right. When I point to my mouth, I ask you to give us the food we need. When I bow my head, I say sorry for the wrong things I've done. When I lift my head, I know you forgive me. When I open my arms, I ask you to help me be friends with everyone. A nice big amen. Amen. So, recently we've been hearing about some of the stories that Jesus told. And for the next few weeks, we're going to hear about some of the amazing things that Jesus did that showed the disciples how powerful he was, and also that he wasn't like anybody else they knew. I'm going to hand over to somebody else now. Wait a minute though, I'm not quite sure who it is. I wonder if you can tell.
Hello, Scramblers and Climbers. Do you know who I am? Sometimes we can't see properly who someone is. I better take off this mask. Now I hope you recognise that I'm Alistair. It's good to be back with you again. It was like that to start with for Jesus' friends. They didn't see clearly who he was. Then one day they were in a storm together. They were crossing a big lake called the Sea of Galilee when a fierce storm hit them. And that's when they discovered something new about Jesus, something they hadn't realized before. What's it like being in a storm on a lake? Let's watch the video together. I wonder how you would have felt being in that boat that was being blown across the lake. I think I would have been very worried. Maybe I'd fall into the water, or maybe the boat would be blown onto rocks. Let's see what happened to Jesus' friends in their boat in the storm, and what they found out about him.
That day when evening came, he said to his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side." Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along just as he was, in the boat. There were also other boats with him. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him."
To start with, Jesus' friends were very frightened of the storm. They thought they were going to fall into the water and drown. But Jesus told the wind to be quiet and the waves to be still, and there was a great calm. His friends said, "Who is this man? Even the wind and the waves obey him." Before the storm, they thought they knew who Jesus was, a great teacher, a very wise man. Now they saw him more clearly, a bit like when I took my mask off. They were so amazed. They saw that he wasn't just a man. They were discovering that he was powerful and that they could trust him to help them and rescue them. When things are difficult for me, I pray and ask Jesus for help, and he does. I wonder if you've discovered how special and powerful Jesus is, and how he will look after us if we trust him.
So it was Alistair after all. I'm glad he showed us who he really was. And when Jesus calmed the storm, that showed the disciples who he was. Though I think maybe they were still a little bit puzzled at the end. I'm going to show you how to make a boat on the sea. We've sent you home this sheet, which you need to print out onto some card and then colour it in. There's a boat here, and then there's a circle with two different lots of weather. Can you see? When it's this way up, you've got a nice bright sun in the sky, white clouds, blue sky, lovely weather. And when you turn it around the other way, oh dear, big black clouds, lightning coming out of them, heavy rain, and that's what made the storm when the disciples were with Jesus in the boat. And then you need to make a hole in the middle. Now I used a pencil that's not too sharp to do that. You can make a hole in the middle there. And then you need to make the hole in the boat there. And then you need one of these paper fasteners. Can you see that? If you've got one of those, that's ideal. If you haven't, I expect you can find something else that will work. And then you put that through your boat, through your weather on the back, and then fold it like that. Oops. So you've now got your boat here. Here we go. And this is how they started off with all the rain and the storm and everything else. And then when Jesus calmed the storm, told the wind and the waves to be still, and there we are. Everything calmed down. The sun came out, nice little white clouds, and the disciples felt very relieved and safe again. I've got a poem now to remind us about today's story. It's got some good noises in it, so maybe shut your eyes, listen carefully, and imagine you're in the boat. Scrunch went the boat on the stones and sand as they pushed it out from the edge of the land. Flop went the water, rippling free under the boat on the quiet, calm sea. Brrr, breathed Jesus long and deep as he curled on a pillow, fast asleep. Woo went the wind in the evening sky as the big black clouds came scudding by. Whoosh went the waves, so bleak and grey as the cap of the boat rolled wet spray. Help! Called the friends. Will the boat go down? In this dreadful storm we will surely drown. Stop, cried Jesus. Be quiet, be still. And the wind and waves calmed down until flop went the water, rippling free under the boat on the quiet, calm sea. Ooh, said the friends. The wind and the sea obey this man. Who can he be? Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not a fisherman, like lots of the disciples were, so I don't go out in boats much, and certainly not in bad weather. But we all have times in our lives when things feel stormy, when we're worried about things or we feel frightened. We can use our boat to remind us that God is in control and He's with us, whatever happens. And then just before we finish, we've sent you home a couple of other things. There's a sheet here for the climbers, and there's another sheet here for the Scramblers, and we hope you'll enjoy doing those as well. And then the last thing we've got for you today is a song. I think you'll enjoy it. It's only a short song, and it's got some actions, but they sing it lots and lots of times over, and each time you leave out some of the words until you're just doing the actions. And by the end of it, there's hardly any words, and it's almost just the actions. So I hope you enjoy that, and I'll say bye-bye for now.
With Jesus in the boat, you can smile at the storm, smile at the storm, smile at the storm. With Jesus in the boat, you can smile at the storm when you're sailing home. Sailing, sailing home, sailing, sailing home. With Jesus in the boat, you can smile at the storm when you're sailing home. With in the boat, you can smile at the storm, smile at the storm, smile at the storm. With in the boat, you can smile at the storm when you're sailing home. Sailing, sailing home, sailing, sailing home. With in the boat, you can smile at the storm when you're sailing home. With in the you can smile at the storm, smile at the storm, smile at the storm. With in the you can smile at the storm when you're sailing home. Sailing, sailing home, sailing, sailing home. With in the you can smile at the storm when you're sailing home. With in the you can at the storm, at the storm, at the storm. With in the you can at the storm when you're sailing home. Sailing, sailing home, sailing, sailing home. With in the you can at the storm when you're sailing home. With in the you can at the at the at the with in the you can at the when you're sailing home. Sailing, sailing home, sailing, sailing home. With in the you can at the when you're sailing home. With in the you can at the at the at the with in the you can at the when you're home. Home, home. With in the you can at the when you're home. With in the you can at the at the at the with in the you can at the when you're with in the you can at the when you're Good job, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Christchurch, New Malden.